Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with singer-songwriter Arlo Parks. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Arlo, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. You are super popular right now, and I can't believe I'm really even talking to you right now. I can't wait to get all into your music, and that's going to come in time. But I want to start at the beginning of your musical journey, just like I do with all the other artists that I talk to on the show. And the first question I want to ask you, Arlo, is what is your earliest musical memory?
I think it was probably listening to Sitting on the Dock at the Bay by Otis Redding with my dad, like on the way to the supermarket or something.
That's a good one. I can hear the influence of that song in your music too. It's really cool. Kind of sticking on your musical history right now, you have a very natural kind of musicality that comes from you. It's really just kind of natural and flowy. Like when I listen to your music, it makes you feel good. It just feels so effortless for you.
Thank you.
Well, no problem. Were you raised in a musical family, or was that something that you really had to kind of develop on your own?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a love of music in my family, but nobody really played an instrument. So I would say my love of music definitely just came from a personal place. I was just always curious about music and just felt very easily moved by music as well. So.
And from what I understand, you're really into poetry also, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. How do those two worlds combine for you? Do you look at them in similar ways, or do you try to look at them in two different entities altogether?
Yeah, I feel like they are very linked. You know, all my lyrics start off as poems. I feel like the lines are very much blurred, but they're both about kind of condensing a lot of emotion into very few lines. And that's why I feel like they work so well together.
You cry, but you gotta trust how you feel inside. Then shine, then shine. I know you can't let go of anything at the moment. Just know it won't hurt so much forever.
You've been performing live for a few years now, but do you remember the first time you got up in front of people and started singing your original music? I don't know what was going through your head at the time. I don't know. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I must have been about 16 or so, and it was in one of my kind of local venues that all the kids who wanted to be in bands would just come through and play some tunes. And my best friend was playing bass in the band, and I just got a couple of school friends to back me up, and we had no idea what we were doing, but that was kind of the beauty of it. You know, we just got up on stage, didn't know what a sound check was, and just had the time of our lives. And I remember feeling really comfortable on stage, which was great.
Your music not only has great singing and melodies and production and everything, but the biggest thing that caught my ear with your music is your lyricism. Like we mentioned earlier with your poetry, I feel like your lyrics have such a poetic rhythm to them, where it's not only phonetically pleasing, but it's also you're telling such a beautiful story and such a really awesome way. And I heard you describe saying you saying words like photographs to you, and I thought that was really telling for your music. When you go about writing the lyrics for your music, do you try to go for an experiential, I want to only write things about what I've experienced, things I've gone through, or do you are you more crafting the stuff just from trying to create narratives in your mind? Because things in your songs sound very specific.
Yeah, I mean, it is very much about the things that I've lived. That's always how it goes. It's more about, taking something that I've seen or felt and being how do I use words to kind of describe it holistically? And, writing for me was always a way of processing and working through things. So that's definitely how I use words.
Lovely, lovely. Kind of hopping onto your location right now. I believe you're in London, England, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in Paris right now. I live in London, but I'm in Paris at the moment just for some press appearances and stuff, which is really lovely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, how is the music scene in London, like where you're from, and how has that area just kind of influenced your sound?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about London is that there are pockets of everything. I think the diversity and the breadth of the music scenes in London is what inspires me the most. When I was growing up, I wasn't really part of a scene, but I definitely was kind of exposed to people who made all different kinds of music. And I think that sense of openness is something that I carried into my own music, the idea of genre not really mattering anymore and kind of trying to break down boundaries between different genres is something that London really brought to me.
Right now, you're doing all these press appearances, you're doing lots of stuff for your new album, which we're going to mention in just a minute, but what is a typical day for you like, Arlo? Do you try to set aside times to work on music, or is it just like kind of sporadic how that kind of works?
I guess it is relatively sporadic. I think I've learned to kind of trust the ebbs and flows of creativity. Usually I'll just kind of get up pretty late, have a coffee immediately. Either I'll like do some morning pages, do a little bit of writing as soon as I wake up, or maybe I'll have, some Zoom interviews to do. I've been watching a lot of films, doing a lot of cooking, just kind of trying to like recharge creatively and spiritually, which has been really great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I definitely want to talk about your new album, which is Collapsing Sunbeams. It's out on all streaming platforms right now. It has a lot of awesome songs on it. What was it like putting that record together, and what does this record mean to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I put it together during lockdown mainly, and so it was mainly kind of written and recorded in Airbnbs in East London. And it was a very freeing process, I really immersed myself in the world of the album and worked through a lot of things as I was writing these songs. And it just felt very organic. I feel like I didn't overthink any step of it. And I think that's why it's something that's so special to me, because it feels like me, completely undiluted. And all the songs just were very much based on intuition and on trusting my gut. So that's why it's very special to me.
Very nice. And I feel like that production that you said, going to different Airbnbs, you can definitely hear that like kind of a friendly collaboration that you had trying to get your friends to work on the record, and just that environment really influenced the sound of it. And I think it sounds great, and it's on streaming platforms. It's you can get it on your website if people want to get the record. But if people want to keep up with you online, or maybe even find out more about the music, how can people find you online?
Yeah, so I mean, my website is arloparksofficial.com, and then I'm just on Instagram as Arlo Parks and on everything else as Arlo Parks.
Very nice. Well, Arlo, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. But before we go, I got one more question for you. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a Big Bang Radio spotlight before, but I'm a musician, but I also love film. And I believe those two worlds are not too far away from each other. And I know you mentioned earlier that you're watching a lot of films right now. So, Arlo, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, that's a difficult one. I would say I really like 400 Blows, which is directed by Truffaut. I think that's a really beautiful film.
Thanks to Arlo for sitting down with us and talking all about her music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can find us online at Studio 67 NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.